I can't control myself ever. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Dark Discourse Tuesday. Hope everyone's week has been off to a fabulous start. Fear not. Tom is walking in the door as we speak, so he will be here within mere seconds, my friends. Do not worry. His presence is especially important today. We're going to cover a number of topics. I know I conducted that little poll in the community post there. Connor, what's up? Go Phils! Oh my goodness, Harper's hit 2 home runs in the game today so far. Yo, keep me posted. Give me that play-by-play. 1, not only do we not have cable, so I can't watch the games anyway, but 2, even in the days when we did have cable, I do not get the games. I have to try to find a way to be able to stream them or something, but even before we canceled our cable, I wasn't able to view the games. They never play over here in Pacific on the West Coast, so give me the play-by-play. Thank you. Go Phils. Go Phils. Yes, it is always a good time of year when Phillies baseball is back. But what is up, everybody? Yes, I conducted that community post today asking what topic you guys would like to hear more, and then I was like, why do I have to decide? We can do both, because I know Tom is definitely gonna want to discuss Three Body Problem from Netflix. As I mentioned, he is mere seconds away.
Gang, we have much to discuss this evening.
Yes.
Or this morning and this afternoon.
Evening, morning, 3 a.m., whatever time it may be for you.
Much to
Let's
discuss
do a little
here.
roundup. Charlie, Sal, Connor, Sean, Daddy Josh, Visitor Zeta, Stanley's. Gang's all here. Lord Vito, what is up? Simply Everything was popping in earlier. Bird Church popping in. The Early Gang. Early Gang was popping off. Well, thank you, everybody.
Come on, everybody.
Good to see you all, as usual.
Goat Simulator 3, Sean. Goat Simulator. Great game.
Oh my goodness. So today's topic, we're going to be discussing, of course, I think what got the most votes was, of course, the Bad Batch with a certain someone's appearance last week. So we will definitely be covering that. Although I feel like I'm going to have more to say. You guys know I've freaking said it a million times. I still have to finish Dark Disciple. And I feel like I'll have more to speak to after I complete that in regards to how this aligned. Although I need confirmation from others in the chat. There's a few things I want to touch on once we get there, but Ventress and Crosshair need to get together. She's taken, IG. She's with Quinlan. She's in a happy, I think. Again, I haven't finished the book, but from what I know, they're in a happy relationship.
Down for a little adultery.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, Matthew Tarpley popping in. What is up? But yes, in very unusual fashion, you guys know Tom and I disagree on a lot of things, and I know that some of you guys were requesting that we discuss Shogun in tonight's episode, and we really can't do that because Tom's not watched it. He fell asleep when I put it on. I think he should give it a second chance based on the hype, but I myself am actually very far behind as well, so maybe I'll have to do just this. If I can't get him to watch it, I definitely might just do a separate stream review perhaps to discuss it once I'm caught up and finished, because I'm definitely a few episodes behind. So unfortunately we couldn't discuss that. But in the same vein of we find it hard to agree on shows very often, and very often Tom and I will embark on a new sci-fi series and it will either end in a way that he doesn't agree with. Is your eye okay?
It's fine.
Okay,
You don't
sorry.
Call me
Not to
out
draw attention to it. Not to draw attention to it. Sorry, jump scare. I haven't looked at you. Either Tom won't like the ending. For example, the Netflix series Dark. We loved the entirety of the show. I still love that show and think it's one of the greatest shows ever made. Tom really didn't like how it concluded. What's another example? For example, Raised by Wolves, which is an incredible series on HBO. Unfortunately ran for 2 seasons and then got canceled right off of an amazing cliffhanger, so that frustrated him. So I feel like, what we're going to discuss tonight, the 3 Body Problem, it's interesting because you have way more knowledge as a rocket science person, as somebody who's Tom's mom teaches physics, he's good at physics, he's in aerospace, like he's a true rocket scientist, and so that is his field. So he was on like another level of serotonin, dopamine, what is the happiness chemical? This show played right into his wheelhouse versus I never even took physics because, as I mentioned, Tom's mom teaches physics, and she would have been my teacher, and I didn't want her to know how stupid that I was. So I'm living in this life, totally carefree, science-free, more like science illiterate. So I still enjoyed the show, but Tom, you proclaimed that this was maybe like your favorite show ever. And we binged literally the whole thing within 2 days, which never happens. Never happens with us. So definitely wanted to touch on it. And maybe if you guys would like a deeper dive video that I couldn't provide, but Tom 1000% could, the science behind, you know, the 3-body problem and how it all applies, because I know I would benefit from that. He was trying to explain it. Maybe if you made a video format, because when you try to explain it to me as we're watching or after we would wrap up an episode and debrief, my brain just shuts off. But maybe if you had a video with graphics and maps and a pointer, it would make sense. So anyway, we're gonna cover
Teaching Cat astrodynamics would be a pretty funny video, I think. So
oh, sweet goodness.
that could be pretty good.
Sweet
That
goodness.
could be pretty good.
So anyway, that's a
But it's
little...
also very interesting. Very interesting science. Astrophysics.
Well, let's not go too
astrodynamics.
crazy. That's why I said if y'all want a separate video, we don't
No.
want to put everybody... We were losing people when we were trying to calculate Yoda's age in the Acolyte a few weeks back.
We did that. It took like 30 seconds to calculate.
A
Simple.
little more than that.
What did we come up with? He was 74 in the Acolyte and 90 in...
I forget what we concluded.
We said he was 100 when he died and returned to the... Anyway, whatever. Last
Anyway,
Dork Discourse.
that's a
So,
little
yeah.
summary of what we're going to be covering tonight, but perhaps we'll jump on in with what the most upvoted option of topic tonight was. Of course, Ventress. I guess, spoiler alert, I had her in the thumbnail. It's been a few weeks. No, actually, no, it's been 1 week, but I feel like that's an appropriate window. So, spoiler alert.
I just saw the
You like that thumbnail? Yeah, I tried something new.
That's pretty funny.
I feel like we should take like better quality photos because I had to screen grab
I
those.
feel like I gotta go get sunglasses now.
No,
I feel
no.
like it's clickbait. I am wearing sunglasses.
Rats.
I'm wearing my
It's
regular
misleading.
glasses.
You can if you want. So yes, spoiler alert, although it's right there on the thumbnail. Ventress's return in the Bad Batch. How is everybody feeling? And I know you can... I've seen... Not that it was divisive, but I've definitely seen mixed thoughts. Again, mostly because of the events that transpire in the still canon novel, Dark Disciple. Like and subscribe. Thank you, IG Kevin. Thank you, yes. Plugging for us. Before we get into everything, Dork Discourse Podcast, Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Throw us a like, throw us a little subscribe if you're feeling it. We'll be here all
Appreciate it.
every week. You do rock those shades, according to says Charlie. Interesting, Sal. Last episode was my least favorite of the season, but I liked it overall. Curious. Feel free. This is a very open, safe space. And again, as I was saying, I know people had some mixed feelings about her reappearance, and I'm starting to, you know, the rose-colored glasses come off. You guys always know I feel a certain way fresh off of reacting, fresh off of watching something, and then as I have more time to process, I have more rational thoughts, I guess a more objective outlook, so this is a safe space. We never really fully debriefed about it, necessarily.
No. Sal, I think I'm with you. Because it felt the most incomplete of a story. Like, we get, okay, Ventress wants to train Omega, but there's no real tease or anything at what her true intentions are and what she's actually doing. Like, the Bad Batch knows that she's dangerous and that she maybe can't be trusted, and they know something might be up, but, like, they don't really give us any inkling of what is actually up and what's actually going on. So, of all the episodes, everyone so far has been, yes, it still goes along the same plot thread of why is Omega so special, so that it continues that main storyline of the season, but every other episode, except for the ones that they released in batches, have had a nice beginning, middle, end, all within that one episode. But I felt like this last one
Very
left
open-ended.
with more questions than answers.
Oh, and you absolutely hate that. That is your biggest pet
Correct.
peeve.
very much so. So that's I'm kind of with you, Sal. I think it was my least favorite, but we get two tonight.
That's
So
true. What is this new
um,
phenomenon where I guess it's implying there's a 2 episode
yeah,
arc. They should have been doing this from the start. This is new this season, right? That
yeah,
when they're 2 episode arcs, they drop them simultaneously. So I love it. I ship it. Please,
yeah.
can we do that going forward? Even though it's the final season, but yeah, no, I'm. It's tough because when she was released in the trailer, I know many of us were one curious about how is this going to impact, if at all, or potentially retcon. What is the how does this fit in with Dark Disciple, which I believe canonically those events happen before obviously the Bad Batch timeline. So I know there were debates about the circumstances of her appearance and if that would potentially retcon or if they did some sort of flashback. My biggest question was, how is she really relevant to the story, these characters, this timeline?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
we she just shows up because Fennec gives her a ring, but why? We don't really get any answers why. And then um we someone just commented, but like we see that she has a high M count. We hear midichlorian again for the first time since I don't know, Attack the Clones.
T-Money!
Um
Sorry, hello.
and then but like we see her not use the force, but after training for a 20-minute episode, can you say that she should have used the force by that time? um I mean, we've seen in multiple pieces of Star Wars canon that training either takes your entire lifetime or it takes you get thrown into a certain situation and then it just happens and you just use it. So should we take um Ventress trying to force it out of Omega as she's but her not actually being able to do anything, that she's definitely not force sensitive? Or is it just that she wasn't thrown into the correct situation to actually use the force? I think one opportunity in the episode is when she gets back and Ventress is trolling the Bad Batch and has him in the
Hmm.
chokehold, then is eventually starts lightsaber fighting. Like, if she that could have been a moment where she's in genuine fear and then the force just comes out naturally. And maybe that's what they were going
True.
for, but I feel like I'm really pulling
That's
out of nothing.
because
Like,
there's been plenty of opportunity throughout
yeah,
the show where Omega has had to be the hero and she could have totally, tapped in a moment like that. Yeah, I was also a little bit Sal, I'm with you there. I'm like, can we just see Quinlan Vos already? I know he's your favorite, Sal. We were just left hanging with that Kenobi series tease, and I just want to see him already. He and Asajj, please. I know they could have thrown him in there with her. I don't see why he had to be absent. That's where I'm going with this. Like, I am curious. The way that this episode wrapped up. I agree with what you said. It felt very open ended, and it almost felt like not a complete mini arc within from start to finish for Asajj, but if this is her series closure, if this is her on-screen closure, I still agree with you. It felt very still. Is she coming back? Is that the last we're gonna see of her? Like, uncertain. I didn't feel a concrete like what a send off. Like wow, like oh my gosh, her final scene. Not that again. I
I don't
I
think that's what they're
enjoyed
going for.
I enjoyed the episode.
She's gonna be back.
You think? Well,
Oh yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know whether to feel. I was very neutral. Like, is she coming back? Is she not? Um, I don't think. I would like to think that they're not leaving it off as that. I think there's still more for her. Another in you know if they're planting the seed of Omega is going to pursue. As Ventress was hinting at, if you almost don't want her to have positive. Do you really want this for her? Because if it's true, if she has these capabilities, she's coming with me and you'll never see her again. That's kind of what she was implying to Hunter and the rest of the batch, which I think Omega would certainly want, like, that it could be leading to that, a similar bittersweet parting ways as we got, for example, Mando season 2 with Grogu and Mando. Obviously, you want him to go and train with the best of the best, Luke Skywalker, but it still tugged at the heartstrings to see them say goodbye. So it would certainly have a similar, emotional ending and conclusion if that's what Omega chose to do. And that could also explain her absence in future projects. Jedi are laying low during this time period, or if she gets involved with the path as we, is it was alluded to in Kenobi. Where am I going with this? So whether or not, I do think there is a seed there for Ventress to come back, if that is to be Omega's fate, if she is to go with her. But yeah, along the lines of the training, the testing, I was only a little bit shocked because one, you know, they seem to be very rigid, very typical Jedi tunnel vision-esque tests. Like you have to do these certain objective tasks, and if you can't, then it's black and white, it's clear, it's over. Like, you know, there was no wiggle room necessarily. I don't know if that was just her fast tracking, like the shortcut way to do it, but for Asajj Ventress, this is someone who, yes, she was trained in the Jedi way, but then obviously the baggage, her history, came to completely reject it and turn, you know, to the complete opposite side of the spectrum, embrace the dark side, tap into that. You know, at least where I'm at in Dark Disciple, she's still using that. She's still navigating and tapping into the dark side. So, you know, I would think that she of all people would reject these narrow vision, typical Jedi, very concrete tests that leave no room for a kind of like subjective, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Like, I don't know, I was just a little bit surprised that she would subscribe to that was the method that she employed, someone out of all people who came to totally resent the Jedi way and all of that and really be critical of it. Where else am I? Oh, what was I gonna say?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the whole episode, like the whole point of it was that Ventress showed up intentionally to deter Omega from thinking that she has the Force and thinking she's special. Yes. She basically showed up, gave her some generic tests that Ventress knew wasn't going to prove anything, and then used it to say, oh no, no, you're not Force sensitive, you don't have the Force, just don't worry about it, you're not a threat.
Intentional. Yeah. Because no, I definitely got the vibe that she is withholding something and she's hiding the truth from all of them to kind of alleviate that. They're still the target on their backs, but I'm sure obviously if she would have told Omega the truth, like, yes, you could be a Jedi, having that on the front burner in all of their minds then heightens the fear for them versus to kind of alleviate them of that pressure. You know, like, don't worry about it, she's not, you know, to tell a little white lie to at least put peace of mind, you know, seeing that Omega's a child, you know, I sensed that was her intention, to like put her at ease that even if the Empire were to get their hands on her, you know, she's not a true Jedi or whatever. But that would explain it, because I was struggling to wrap my head around why would a Ventress of all people be doing such rigid black and white tests. So no, I definitely do believe she was withholding something from Omega, and I do agree that there's no way to properly deduce via those tests and after 24-hour period if Omega's capable. Let's see. What's everybody saying? Omega's midichlorian count is over 9,000. Do we know that? Where are those stats? Ooh, let's hope we see Palpatine again as well, zapping someone in the process. Yeah, I'm sure we're not done with him.
That's right.
I think that this is the prelude to more Ventress based on what the actress said. Oh, I hope so, Lord Fowl, because if this was to be her on-screen send-off, I'm still a little bit like, it doesn't feel conclusive. I would like a little bit more.
It's not. There's no way.
Yeah.
She showed up and play fought and was just trolling Omega. That's all she did. Just casual, nothing eventful. From Ventress's character development perspective. So there's definitely more to come, and whatever she's doing is, my interpretation is for the benefit of Omega's safety. But I think at some point that's going to come crashing down, and Omega is going to realize that she actually is super special, and then Ventress is going to go in and have to step in and whip out the big guns to protect her.
Speaking of big guns,
Danny!
Holy shnikes!
Danny!
A severely generous super chat. Holy frick! Can I heart this now? This is new.
Yeah, what's that do?
Dang, Danny! Oh my gosh, thank you. Wow, holy frick! Thank you so much, my friend. Long time no
other
chat.
People can
Yeah,
Like
thumbs
two.
up too. That's a new
That's cool.
feature. I hope everyone is
That's
well.
cool.
Loving the Bad Batch, Dune 2, and loved Rebel Moon. I need to still watch. They just released the trailer, correct, for part 2, which I think is coming out later this month. I have to still watch the trailer. But I am excited about that. Also finished the outline for my next novel, The Tragedy. I'm gonna botch this. I'm sorry. The Tragedy of Amalith. Please correct me if I said that wrong. The Tragedy of Amalith the Vengeful, which is a space epic divided up into 10 acts. Love and blessings to all, and to you, Danny! Oh my goodness! I hope your
Yeah.
generosity and good vibes and positivity come back to you tenfold, my friend. Thank you so, so much, truly.
Yes. That is incredibly generous.
Danny
Of
making it
you,
rain.
Mr. Danny.
Danny,
Thank you.
you're a
Thanks so much.
beast. Yes, and congratulations on your novel progress. Do let us know.
No.
I know you. I guess the timeline is if this is the outline. No, the whole thing has to be written. Correct me if I'm wrong, but do keep us posted on the progress and when we can expect it to hit the shelves or hit Amazon Prime, booksellers, wherever we could go to get it.
Yeah.
Do keep us posted.
Absolutely.
Um,
Speaking of Dune 2, we
still have to
yet
go
to go see.
see. I know. Listen.
It's not our fault. It's our theater's fault because there's no available seats.
No,
unless you sit in the front corner.
It's the fault of
and then
living in
you look.
freaking Los Angeles. Literally, I hate this town when it comes to going to see movies because naturally, people who live here, there's lots of cinephiles. People here, it's Hollywood, baby. So, like, yes, people here do have a higher appreciation, I think, for film and television. And we have a lot of like 70 millimeter, like IMAX theaters and stuff like that. Or I should say, maybe we don't have enough, at least in our immediate area, because every effing theater is booked up. And I keep seeing tweets from people like, just got back from my 4th viewing of Dune. And so when I see that, and then I go on to try to get any sort of reservation, any sort of tickets at a reasonable time on the weekend, even the unreasonable times, even like the 10 a.m. show times on a Sunday are like booked up. Impossible, unless you want to sit in the front row and get freaking whiplash in your neck from looking up the entire time. When I see those people tweet those things and then I'd go and I can't get any freaking tickets into a reasonable seat in a theater, I'm like pissed. Sorry, I'm like, stop going. Let those of us go. Let the plebes who haven't seen this even once go, please. So yes, we've still not seen it. I'm scared at this point. I literally Googled the other day, when is Dune 2 leaving theaters? Because we're on a clock now. We're on a time.
No.
We're on the clock. It's been out since 1st of March.
No.
Things usually only run for maybe like 6 weeks, and already in our local theater, they're pulling out IMAX showings, and it's just available only in regular schmegular. Who wants that?
Well, then we got to go see it in IMAX.
Yeah, we have to try. We have to fight tooth and nail in this friggin' city to get tickets. I'm sorry, miniature vent. But it's times like that when I wish we lived in a more rural freaking area where people didn't care about film or television because it's so freaking annoying.
Yeah.
It's good. That's all I will say. Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, I'm not foaming at the mouth too much. Like, I'm not seething too much because I've read, I'm on to the 5th book, so it's like I know what happens, but I still want to freaking see it. I know, exactly.
But yeah, Daddy, Daddy Josh, hope you're doing well. Danny, glad you're loving Bad Batch and Dune 2 and Rebel Moon. That is fantastic.
Yes.
So, have you seen The 3-Body Problem?
Oh my
on
God.
Netflix?
I take it you want to segue.
No. We can keep going. I mean, predictions. I mean, what do we got? How many episodes of Bad Batch do we have left?
Tonight is the 10th.
There's 14.
Oh my God, 10th and 11th. There's 16, I think. Which leaves 12, 13, 14, 15, 5.
5.
And potentially, if they keep releasing double episode arcs, like I imagine if at this rate, maybe the finale would be 2 or 3 parts at most, I hope. If this is boiling down to an eventual attack mission on Tantus, I'm not sure, especially...
It has to.
I hope, I'd imagine that's kind of what the central focus is now, and Omega can't let it go. Much to her, much to everyone else's dismay, they're trying to convince her, stop wanting to help, just lay low, stay on Pabu, you don't have to do anything else. But she's certainly not going to take that as a concrete answer. And, Rex finally, Rex, thank you, Rex, freaking preached, finally got through Hunter and, told him what I've been wanting to freaking just jump through the screen and shake him and say the whole time. You have to do something. You can't just lay low forever. You
Yep.
can't avoid it. Yes, double episodes tonight. It's only 15 episodes. Oh, shnikes, in that case. The final episode is May 1st. Oh my goodness, so it's coming down to the wire. Shoot! I'm starting to get really
Yeah.
sad because, it's hitting me that this is the final season.
Yeah.
Um,
So we know it's going to end with some type of liberation attempt of Tantus. Like, we know that's where it's going.
strong
That's what they're setting
emphasis
it up.
on attempt.
And how all the players come into play is, I think, still at this point, very tricky to try and understand. I mean, presumably you need all hands on deck. So everybody who is fighting the Empire in the scope of this show and the clones and the Clone Rebellion, like, seemingly that's going to be the scope of the group, but does Ventress get involved? Does Fennec get involved? Do other people get involved? I think we
Highly doubtful.
we shall see.
Because this already
see.
is like I don't want to say like a suicide mission, but they're so outnumbered, I think. As we saw in the 2-part arc, infiltration and extraction, Rex literally lost all of his men from their current base, just as his numbers were starting to grow a little bit. Like, now he's got to rebuild all of that. Like, I don't know. And I feel like there are worse things awaiting on Tantus. I said this in my...
The Zillo Beasts?
Those potentially, like, we know that they've used in the past and resorted to, like, biological warfare, like biohacking, to cover their tracks previously. But here's my question. Tell me if this is wild. We know that they're in the process of Project Necromancer. They definitely have a lot of failed attempts, failed clones, whatever product they are trying to get.
Mm-hmm.
We know for a fact that they've definitely gone through multiple trials. So what are all these, are they total failures, or are some of them, it's like, all right, this isn't the final product that Palpatine wants, but we can still use this, put it in a tank over there, save it for later. Like, what are they breeding? What are these trials that they're all of these failed attempts? I feel like they could still have some crazy, horrific science projects hiding in their inventory that they would unleash in the event of... Because I feel like Tantus is their, like, stronghold. We saw in the second episode when Hunter and Wrecker went to that planet with the slither vines, and it was a completely abandoned, destroyed base, their former laboratory, and I feel like it was significantly smaller. I feel like, Tantus was an upgrade compared to
It's
that.
literally a mountain.
Yeah. So I feel like they're really going to whip out all the stops. In grave danger they are. Yeah, I agree, Daddy Josh. I don't think this is going to end copies of Snoke, Matthew Tarpley. Yes, like,
Yeah.
We know they've got some science projects going on over there. Who's to say that they're not prepared to unleash them? What are all these failed attempts doing in reserves?
We also know that they probably have vats of slain Jedi in tree sap.
Probably.
Based on the basement of Fortress Inquisitorius from Kenobi. So is this where they're storing those frozen Jedi corpses now for some reason in the sap? Are they in Tantus? Are they using the Jedi, experimenting with the Jedi blood just the same way they're taking the clones' blood? Are they doing that now? Are they doing that in Tantus? I feel like they have to.
If it's the midichlorians they're after, they've got to be testing any surviving Jedi. That's the caveat. They need the subject to be alive. So they definitely... Yeah, that's why he let Omega go.
Point.
Which is why I have theories that they could have resurrected Tech. Because if they're desperate to be testing anybody and everybody, and they're constantly retesting all of the clone prisoners and whatnot, anyone who goes through there, even their own staff, that's why I thought perhaps they could have used and administered life-saving measures if they got their hands on Tech at the right time. We know that he tossed his glasses to Hunter. So I feel like... But no, I'm starting to subscribe more to the fact that I think Tech is dead, but I don't know. Now that we know that their subjects have to be alive.
A total light bulb just blew up in my head. Nothing to do with tech and what you were just talking about. What kind of? Well, yes, it does, because you said they have to be alive. So, I think this gets into some of the cloning stuff, and probably not this show, maybe, but in other shows, are we going to see like them try to just attempt the Jedi that they're taking material from and clone them directly? I feel like that's the starting point. Like if you can take Kit Fisto, whose corpse is just in Palpatine's office, you can take him, clone him. I feel like that has to be an attempt that Palpatine and Necromancer would pursue, of just straight up cloning all of the slain Jedi, and then you have a force wielding army under your control. I mean, we see the Inquisitors, but those aren't clones. Those are just Jedi turned, or force wielders turned to follow the rule of Vader and Palpatine. But like, what they're doing now is just taking the blood and presumably trying to put that into a vessel, and then just make that vessel force sensitive. I guess because arguably that's faster than cloning Kit Fisto and then waiting a decade, even with the advanced aging, to become full strength Kit Fisto. But they went out of their way to show us in Kenobi that they have the Jedi corpses, and even in like Rebels, they go find Luminara and they've got her body locked up. Like they know they're keeping the corpses of the slain Jedi, but we haven't seen any thing of what they're used for. What experiments have they pulled with these Jedi? Are they just trying to, presumably they're just trying to extract the midichlorians from the Jedi to help Palpatine's vessel be force sensitive, so that when Palpatine inhabits the vessel, he has all of his force abilities and then some. But what else are they doing?
Yeah, Matthew also brings a good point that I always do forget. Rey's father was a clone strand himself. That is correct. So we know that they have, I don't know, I kind of do want to start getting some answers. There's so much secrecy, of course, naturally. You know, they're doing everything in their power to keep this under wraps, you know. It was interesting in the Extraction episode when Wolf and Rex come face to face again, and Rex delivers the truth that, you know, the experimentation, the imprisonment of their fellow clones, that's what's really happening on Tantus. You know, Wolf's reaction was interesting because it implied that he knows of Tantus, or at least what it is, but that everybody else has absolutely no idea what is transpiring there. I don't know. I wonder if he even, I don't know. It's interesting if Tantus's whereabouts, if it's known throughout the entire empire, like if every soldier, if every commander knows about it, or I don't know, I'm not sure, but his reaction seemed to allude to the fact that he's heard of it, but had no idea that that's what was transpiring there. But
Heard of what?
Tantus.
Who's heard of Tantus?
Wolf.
Okay.
Where am I going with this? Thank you for all the well wishes. Love you all. We love you right back, Denny. Oh. And I'm sorry that I can literally still never say your name ever without, you know, the Shining reference. Hope you don't mind. It's your own private special greeting. But yeah, I'm starting to get a little bit, you know, it's natural that they're keeping things under wrap, but there's almost too much mystery now, too much secrecy, that it's like, okay, everything has been planting the seeds of the cloning, the Bad Batch. We get it in Mandalorian, so it's like, I want a few, with this also being the final season, you know, I'm curious if they will just, you know, leave things mysterious, open-ended, you know, to imply Snoke, you know, what is to come. This is all part of the cloning thing. Like, I don't know. I'm starting to fear that they're gonna leave it open-ended and such, but I do think, especially if the focus here with this season primarily of the Bad Batch has been focused on Project Necromancer, like I want just a little sneak peek of something, even if it is a Snoke or Snoke-esque failed clone attempt, even just something eerie to end things off, to just give a little bit of a glimpse. I'm starting to crave not answers necessarily, because we all know what it boils down to. That's the thing. It's like we know where this goes. We know that it reaches fruition and that Palpatine succeeds. So I don't care so much about that. But just give me a little something. I don't know.
Maybe it's a combination of both. Maybe it's, oh, they try cloning the slain Jedi, but they realize they're not Force sensitive because they're already dead.
They're
so
dead.
the midichlorians died. So what if they clone those Jedi and then transplant blood that is already has midichlorians? Maybe it's a combination.
Stanley's is correct.
Maybe it's a combination.
That's right. Palpatine mentioned to Hemlock that even people within their own ranks in the Empire would see it as an abomination. That's correct. So
great point, Stanley.
That is, you raised a good point as well, that we do know that it all, in last week's segment, you mentioned that we do know that this all comes to a halt, at least, or something transpires that sets it back several decades worth of progress.
Yeah.
So
if Omega is the one key to getting it to work, and it doesn't actually work until Rise of Skywalker or sometime between Return of the Jedi and the sequel trilogy, whenever Palpatine actually takes over the vessel and whatever he does, and maybe it's working, and it just, as soon as he dies in Return of the Jedi, he just goes to the vessel, but it takes him another 40 years to get the vessel to actually be
that's true.
independent. But ultimately, they never figure it out. The only reason he gets off his ventilator and his super high chair is because of the dyad. So
his high chair.
The Exegol high chair is still in play until the dyad shows up, and then he sucks their life out, puts on his ruby red Gucci robe through the Force, and then there you go. So if it wasn't for the dyad, he'd still be glued to his chair.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna check on our dinner. As always,
Right.
I have something in the oven. Gotta make sure it ain't burning.
Good smell.
If you want to segue to
Good
Three
smell.
Body Problem.
Good smell. But yeah, so I think lots to come with the Bad Batch and everything that's going on there. So I'm definitely excited to see where it goes. And we've got the 2 episodes tonight. So we shall see what happens. Looks like Alice just joined. What's going on, Alice? Welcome, welcome. When did you start the stream? 5 p.m. Pacific time, which is, 6 hours ahead of you? So 11 p.m. Australian time? Even though I think there's multiple time zones in Australia. Anyway. Yeah, so let's start talking about the Netflix show that is the co-thumbnail with Ventress there, which is Three Body Problem. So for those who might not be aware, there's a new 8-part series, at least season 1 of a series on Netflix.
Sorry.
Which is titled The Three Body Problem, and that is available now. I think it just released last week sometime.
Yes, based on trilogy, I believe. Which I know I've talked about this with Zach on Dork Discourse, or not. Wrong podcast. Evil Ewok. I know I've discussed it with him. He's read the books. Philly's up 3-1 in the 7th. Thank you, Sal. Thank you. I need updates. Thank you so much. Good to know. Good to know. So yes, it is based on a book series, which now that I've watched the show, I need to ask Zach if the show already, again, take this with the knowledge that my brain can only handle so much, and I am not scientifically skilled or gifted in any way, shape, or form. So, one thing about the show, do you want to explain the physics? You gotta do the heavy lifting. The physics
premise of the show
and the science behind it, yeah.
It's not very technical. I feel like they give pretty good descriptions of the science behind what's going on. Maybe not, but I personally, I didn't think it was too,
because you're smart when they're talking about things with protons, space, theoretical. I don't know who she is, y'all. Cool Metallica shirt. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. Thank you. Represent. Yes, Three Body Problem, in case you were joining us, available on Netflix. But yes, the reason we are discussing it is because Tom professed that it is maybe his favorite show ever. I don't know if that still stands. I don't know if
it could be.
Really?
Very well could be.
But I think the favorite part is whilst watching it, it feels like a conglomerate of so many other sci-fi things that we have watched and enjoyed. War of the Worlds. What else did you say? Like a little bit of almost like Raised by Wolves, Westworld almost, like
Interstellar. Westworld.
Maybe that's just because it was
even
the
like
same composer.
Oppenheimer-esque certain aspects in there. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that I love that they took a lot of good stuff from all those things that I love and that you love. And it's like every single episode, it was just like, and Game of Thrones esque. I mean, it's the creators of the Game of Thrones show, Benioff and Weiss. They created the show, so it's very much like there's this a through line story through all 8 episodes that is consistently answering questions and raising new ones in a very satisfying way. But like every single episode, there was some major shock, twist, turn, but it felt directly in line with the story, and you're like, oh my god, where's it going to go from here? Like this like completely derails what they were setting up, but then it goes on after that and you're like, wow, it makes total sense. So like the Game of Thrones aspect of like you're just going to get totally blown away and not have any idea where it goes from here, but it's still satisfying, it's totally true there. So it pulls from a bunch of different stuff. It's a great sci-fi show, and it's very, very satisfying. So the should I just go over the premise? Talk about the premise?
Sure. Don't fall too much into a rabbit hole again. If y'all would like a separate scientific video, a designated video for the deep dark lore, the deep science of it all.
There's not a lot of deep dark science.
Yeah, there is.
There's not a lot. I mean, the show is called the 3 body problem, which that problem is you have 3 gravitational bodies and navigating relative to position and time and speed and acceleration due to the gravitational pull of 3 simultaneous bodies. That's what the 3 body problem is. So essentially the premise of this show is that there is an alien race that is more advanced than us at the time. And they live in a solar system that has 3 suns, and essentially, due to the unstable nature of a 3-body system, their planet essentially eventually can just either get launched into one of the suns, can just get expelled out of their solar system, can get a whole bunch of things can happen because of the unpredictability of a 3-body gravitational system. So that's the premise of the show. This alien race that's more advanced than us, and it is in this predicament with their solar system. So, thanks to humanity making contact with them, they decide to leave their unstable 3-body system and come to Earth. And how that contact is made is an incredible story. What transpires between, like the communication between the humans that have reached out to them and are talking with them and the species is intriguing. And then what happens when the rest of humanity finds out that a piece of humanity has reached out to this alien race and they're on their way is incredibly fascinating. So yeah, it is very sci-fi and all that stuff's going on, but the main characters that we follow all have very unique relationships and backgrounds. And one of the major themes is, okay, if you're faced with if humanity's faced with the threat outside of this world, how does humanity respond? What type of choices do people have to make for the greater good? And is the greater good worth it? And what lengths are people willing to go to do what they think is right, which could be saving all of humanity in this specific case. So,
Yeah, that to me was one of the most
yeah,
intriguing ideas that it navigates. If society is presented with an issue that won't come to fruition and won't have any impact for another 400 years, which, as Sam mentioned, would be the timeline of when they can anticipate the alien eventual extraterrestrial arrival. And they know that they are arriving with the intent of dominating Earth. They have no interest in coexisting with us. You know, how does society respond to that? You know, like, which I guess is, you know, not necessarily like a metaphor for climate change or global warming, but many people I do think view that as an issue that, oh, that's not going to happen for years down the line. But it's like, where do you draw the line of, okay, yes, I'm not necessarily impacted by this, but my bloodline, my children's 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 children, when are they going to have to cut off the family tree, the generational tree? When is it going to have to cease? Because we know eventually, in a few centuries, XYZ is going to happen. That to me was like the most. I wish they had almost explored that a little more. Even I know they
well, it's more to
grappled.
come.
That's true.
This is the first season.
This is only the first season. I do believe I saw. I think I saw a quote, an article in my investigation today that the showrunners said that the second Caesar. The Julius Caesar. The second season has even more in store. Is going to be even more mind blowing. So this is obviously just the beginning, a little taste of what's to come.
Yeah. It's also like the Horizon games for anybody who's played Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West. Like how that story starts so small scale, and then literally just blows up to like a cosmic universe. Thousands of years of humans conflict. Like it literally starts with Aloy, and you're just exploring in the jungle with her, and then literally at the end of the second game, it's dealing with humans from the past who have evolved to be these super like sentient beings that come back. Like it's crazy. It just the story just blows up. It goes like the scale of the story is just astronomical.
Yeah.
Like from the first second you play Horizon Zero Dawn to the ending of Horizon Forbidden West, it's 2 video games. Two video games, and you go from this young teenage hunter girl who's just fighting, like literally just trying to figure out how to walk through the jungle, to fighting these ancient alien, but they're human and they're just so technologically advanced and they survive the apocalypse. It's like, what is going? And then the threat that's teased in the third game is crazy. It's the same thing with this show.
When is that coming out?
I don't know. But with this show, the 3 body problem, it's the same thing. It starts off where you're just thrust into like normal, well, not normal, but communist China party, I guess, public torture event. That's where you start. And so it's all about, it's just like human conflict about humans.
Well, it really starts with one person's story.
Yeah.
And that's what's the craziest element of the whole show. And that I also wish they had dove into more, like the actions of one person are, as it appears now, summoning the entire downfall of the human race.
Yeah.
Which is just so wild how, the show speaks to like the fragility of humanity and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. Because I don't know. It's the science parts I had to tune myself out, but everything else, not tune out, but my brain.
It's sci-fi, so it's not scientific fact, but it's similar to like where it pulls from Interstellar, where it's like based on scientific fact, here's some sci-fi scenarios that could happen, some theoretical scenarios that are all based in fact in what we know, but technologically speaking, it's too advanced for us to get there with the technology that humanity has now. So it's based in fact, but it essentially it's the same with Interstellar. It starts with the fact and then expands into sci-fi theoretical scenario if the technology were to exist. It's the same with this show, where it starts in scientific fact and then starts saying, okay, if we had the technology to do this, or what if this scenario, or what if the pieces of the puzzle laid out correctly, this is something that could happen. But it's all based in fact. And but I never felt like you needed to really understand it to understand the plot or what was going on.
Yeah, no, I think they make it palatable enough. But even there are parts of Interstellar that my brain just can't wrap around, so, again, as a scientifically illiterate person, there are some things that I just can't understand. But other than that, I did enjoy it. I love Interstellar so simply. Yes, isn't it is it this year that it's coming back to theaters? Is this a 10th anniversary?
Rumored. I don't know if it's confirmed, but I saw rumors that it was going to be back. Yeah, Interstellar is it's up there in movies. Potentially my
It sounds like favorite. Yeah.
movie that's not Star Wars of all time.
I do want to touch on, some people were discussing, we mentioned David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, whose names are, I feel like it's finally phasing out of the controversial stage to even just say D&D.
Yeah.
It caused the people a lot of pain. It was a trigger for some time following the Game of Thrones finale. And yes, I know that was I had been preaching at the time that I was very excited for their potential Star Wars project, which I believe it's very rumored that was going to be on the tails of the Game of Thrones conclusion. And, after the way Game of Thrones ended, however you feel about it, many people were like, good riddance that they didn't get that.
Well, they went and signed the massive $100 million contract with Netflix.
That's what happened?
Yeah.
Oh.
Pretty sure.
Are we sure that didn't happen after the fact?
Well, it did happen after the fact.
After their Star Wars thing got canceled.
Yeah, but
it wasn't because they signed a different contract.
I think so.
I don't know.
That the press release, I'm almost positive, was they leave Star Wars project. They no more Star Wars project because of massive $100 million contract with Netflix. And I think that this 3-body problem is what the contract was for, is developing this.
And it's taken this many years. That's why I'm like, oh god, how much longer before we get the next few seasons?
Yeah. That's where my head is at. That's I'm pretty sure. But if
anybody
anybody knows history
well, who was it? I think
more
it's
detailed
Sal
history of...
was mentioning a few comments back. He'd been listening to a podcast that they were on, and they mentioned being like crushed, being a little the creators of the 3-body. Oh, so maybe this isn't. Yeah, I mean, they are like the executive. I would say they're the showrunners. They were on a podcast and had been asked about their canceled Star Wars project, and they were totally blindsided that Lucasfilm went ahead with it. Oh wait, that's the project. That's what their project was. I don't know. I thought they were gonna get weren't they getting a trilogy?
Star Wars trilogy.
D&D.
Yep.
They were getting a trilogy, right? Or something, allegedly?
Allegedly.
I don't know. This was all so long ago. Yeah. All I'm trying to say is, for me, this has been my first project of theirs that I've watched since the conclusion of Game of Thrones. I think is this their first project released?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The finale of Game of Thrones, so...
They were going to work on Star Wars, fell through. They got this massive contract with Netflix to make this, and this is what I think they've been working on. And clearly a ton of development time, pre-production time, huge budget, great cast, and it's not even over. Like, this is clearly a ton of effort went into developing this world and story and everything that goes into it.
All I'll say is I've always been tame about the Game of Thrones finale, and I praise it for different reasons, not because I necessarily loved where the story went, but I at least thought it was bold, and it was something, and you had to acknowledge that no matter what route they had gone, people might have been disappointed because they were flying without wings. They were going without it, they'd previously been operating with the map from George R.R. Martin and were then up to their own devices. and had to do it in a timely fashion, unless we still wouldn't have the final season had they, you know, abided by whatever that story, whenever his final novel comes out. So, you know, you have to acknowledge that they were up really against a huge challenge there, going without. They didn't have the guardrails up anymore, and they were in free space. They were in the deep end alone.
Yeah.
So no matter what, I think people would have been divided by the story, because it just inherently would have been different from whatever tone, whatever touch George R.R. Martin has on the storyline. So I at least applauded the fact that it was bold. You know, they sent it, and I truly still believe there's no way they could have wrapped it up in a way that everyone would have been satisfied. You know,
You give the satisfying ending.
I don't think people would have been fully Game of Thrones. When has Game of Thrones ever been satisfying?
It's the whole story. You have the beginning and the end. It can be as crazy, surprising, whatever in the middle, but you can't have the end be complete surprise out of left field that they haven't been building towards, which they did in a lot of their creative choices. But yes, what makes it so good is that you have these crazy moments in the middle, but then you see how the fallout is. So you have time to recover from it and see how that impacts the greater story. But the end is the end. You don't have the time afterwards. So you've got to end it in a way that's completely, totally satisfying, meaning it follows what they've been building up, which they did not do. They didn't do. That is pretty much a fact at this point that they didn't do it. So am I a little nervous that yes, this first season of this show was so good?
Yes, but all three books are full of surprises.
Yes,
they're going off of a book. They're adapting it, and it is complete. I believe this trilogy.
Yes.
I would be curious. I have to ask Zach, who has read the book, how
don't talk to him about it. He didn't spoil it for you.
I just want to ask him. John Blake, thank you so much. Look at me. I should wear my heavy metal rep more often. I'm getting emo, y'all. I'm getting back into my emo metal phase. Yes, House of the Dragon. Yes. All right. Yeah, this can segue into. Anyways.
But it's the same with Dark. It's the same with 19.
All I'm
whatever
saying,
the boat
let me finish my
whatever
point.
The boat thing was.
Oh, 1899. That didn't get that. You can't judge that. You can't judge that because it got canned before it could come to fruition. That was part of a larger story. That was part of a larger story. You cannot. You can't, because there was clearly a vision there. That was starting as something and then completely spiraled into something else and was going to play more into the human hijacking humans' brains.
You can't drop it all at the very end.
No.
You got to build a steady build up.
That's the whole purpose of TV. The whole purpose of film and television
is to tell one little story and then bang, you jump up 10 million octaves at the very last second of the.
Sure, what's wrong with that?
No.
If you believe, if it's part of a larger thing.
See, you're going like this. You're doing stepping stones.
Yeah,
that's not what that show is. That show is.
The seasons are the stepping stones. No.
Canceled.
That show was hyped from the beginning. That show was hyped from the beginning. You just didn't appreciate it.
Nope.
Anyways, the point I was trying to make. All I'm saying is this was the first project from D&D that I had watched since the Game of Thrones conclusion. And I will say I think they don't deserve the bad rap that they've gotten. Sure, was the finale of Game of Thrones divisive? Yes, but you gotta give it to them when they have the material to adapt from and work with. And again, say what you will about the finale, but in my opinion, even when they're left to their own devices, at least they're doing bold things. And this show was certainly bold. Both shows, Three Body Problem and this show, definitely very bold and ambitious. And it takes good leadership to helm a show like that. The show running something like this of that scale, as you mentioned, especially for a Netflix production. We know Netflix they got the cash, but I think it gets divided differently, and it seems like they allocated quite a lot to this show, and it's performing very well. I think it has like 70% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Only 70?
Let's double check. What is it?
That's surprising.
It's still early. That it could go up because it's only been running for like a week or so. 78% Rotten Tomatoes. So I think it could jump to 80. I'd be curious to see why.
That's surprising. I'm surprised that it's that low, to be honest.
I'd go on a limb and suggest it could just be because for me, there are some parts that are so science reliant that it is a little bit.
Too much?
Show me some reviews. Show me the reviews.
You think it's too much?
I don't. Is it too much or am I too stupid? That's what I'm still trying to figure out.
I don't know.
So,
I mean, I think that they explained it enough because it's not fact. A lot of it is theoretical, based in fact. So I feel like they did a great job at explaining enough of the context to make it make sense within the story.
yeah.
Versus other things that they're saying like this is fact. And like there are plenty of stuff where like I'm caught up trying to figure out exactly how it works and how it makes sense and whatnot. But I feel like in this show I didn't do that because they gave enough context where I was like, okay, it makes sense. That's plausible. But then they give you enough where it's like, okay, but then this is the amount of detail that you gave made sense in my brain that this is plausible, and that's all I need to know.
But you're a rocket scientist.
But there are plenty of...
You have a different brain from the layperson. You have a different brain from average people.
From what?
From average people.
From what?
Average people. You're passionate about this stuff. You get fired up about this stuff. You were trying to explain all of these theories to me and I fell asleep. So it's just very different. That could be, I don't know, I would go on a limb and suggest that could be a reason why, because I didn't find anything flawed with it story-wise, and you are very critical if you love the whole show and you dislike the way it ends. That you put a lot of, there's a lot of value and weight on the way something concludes for you. The finale, a final episode.
Yeah, that's like what they teach you in first grade English. If you're going to write a paper, you better have a banger conclusion, because that's the last thing someone's going to remember about your show. If you lay an egg at the end, it's going to leave a bitter taste in your mouth.
But you let it dictate the entirety of a show for you, which is why you have sore feelings about Dark.
Oh yeah.
Sure, I had nothing against the way that show ended.
I haven't rewatched Dark, probably never will. I haven't rewatched Game of Thrones, probably never will. Because in my mind, it's like you built up all these building blocks, and then you didn't capitalize. You didn't hit the home run, out of the park, grand slam, World Cup final hat trick. You tried to get too fancy with it. Try to get too creative. You did a masterful job of building up the steady staircase, building up this world, this lore, the characters, the story, the plot, and then you kept iterating when you already did all the heavy lifting. So just tie a bow on it, hit the home run.
Sorry.
Conduct the final note of Beethoven. Like just end it. But instead,
for all y'all screenwriters out there, if any of you guys are working on a screenplay, here's your...
Obviously, my credentials, I don't have any writing credentials. I didn't go to school for writing. But I did go through elementary school where they say, literally the first thing, if you're going to write something, whether it's a story, whether it's a scientific thesis, whether it's a research paper, whether it's a presentation, when you're talking about marketing, the last thing people are going to remember about what you're telling them is the very end.
Can this be our poll?
You've got to end.
People are already choosing sides.
You've got to end on a banger. You got to end on a banger. So for me, if the ending is not satisfying to the level that the rest of the show was, I'm not motivated to go back and rewatch it.
Sorry,
that's what my head is thinking about. So like the first season of Three Body Problem, it steadily builds on itself. It's good all the way through and through. Do you get all the answers at the end? No, you don't. But this is the first season. So as long as they keep building it up, and then by the end of whatever the last season is, it's a satisfying conclusion based on everything they've built up. They don't try and get super creative and give a last second twist ending that doesn't make any sense, then we're good.
I'm getting my wrist cracks in.
But for Dark, for 1989 or whatever the boat movie is, for Game of Thrones,
1899.
all of those shows were building up, but then they never came back down. They never came back down. So you again, they teach you the story arc. Your beginning, middle, end. Your introduction, your conflict, your resolution. But all of those shows, they never hit a true resolution. They're still shocking you and still trying to twist your mind and melt your brain and give you surprises. But if you know it's the end of the show,
but this
then
is why I'm
reach the
defending
resolution, bring the
1899.
downside.
They did not. You can't anticipate if you write something, if you pitch something as 2 seasons and it gets canceled. Well, then it's
That
like, okay,
It's fair.
this wasn't supposed to be my end. So that's why I defend that show. All right, so I'm already getting roasted
You already
in
hit
the
the
poll.
poll?
But in the vein of our conversation.
When you frame it like that, of course
All right, well,
everybody's going to say
you've
yes.
been yapping. I'm trying to give context. Is the end or / finale of a TV show crucial? I only have so much room to your overall opinion of said show. For example, Game of Thrones finale. I did not let that ruin my judgment of the entire show as a whole, which I still view to this day and always will view as a historic piece of television that permanently altered film and TV as we know it, and has a lasting piece on television as a whole. Tom thinks that the ending of Game of Thrones means the whole thing gets scrapped.
No. I will acknowledge that Game of Thrones is one of the greatest shows of all time. But my point is that I have not rewatched it, and I'm not motivated to rewatch it because the ending has tainted my perception of the show.
Oh.
But I'm not sitting here saying that the Game of Thrones is the worst show of all time because it had historically one of the greatest
Build-ups.
examples of a horrific ending. But it's collectively, it's one of the greatest shows of all time.
Yes.
Undoubtedly, one of the greatest shows of all time. But the way it ended, I have yet to find motivation to go back and rewatch it.
John Blake, thank you so much. Sorry, I've been
Yes.
trying to get to your super
Sorry,
chat.
John, I'm yapping.
Sorry,
Yeah.
John. Thank you for your patience. Also, welcome. I don't know, is this your first stream? Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. But welcome. Thanks for being here, and thank you for the super chat, my friend. Waiting for Morbius cameo in a Star Wars show. He would be awesome. He would be so
30 Seconds to
good.
Mars in the next Cantina.
That's
It's Jared Leto.
Morbin time.
Morbius
Morbius
is
is
Jared
also Morbius is also the guy from. We should confirm which Morbius are we talking
Jared
about?
Leto Morbius?
Morbius is also from Sweet Lord. Oh my! Don't tell me! Morpheus. Never mind. I'm an idiot. Who's Mobius?
The Matrix?
Is it
Morbius is Jared Leto.
Morbius? I mean, he would also be good. He would also be.
Right?
We're talking.
Is that the Morbius
it's-
we're talking about here? John, we need more context.
We're lost. But anyways, regardless.
So.
Thank you for the super chat. John also mentioned something about maybe debating rewatching Game of Thrones, but curious because of how it ended.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I've debated on watching Game of Thrones, even though I hear the last season was bad. Did you ever finish the show? All right, I'm gonna end this poll that I'm embarrassingly losing. Then, did you finish it, John? Because if so, like that's the thing. I think eventually someday, before my end of days, before I'm not much longer for this world, I will want to rewatch that show.
Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is without a doubt worth watching. And I think the ending will be less impactful because you can just binge through the whole thing. Like you could literally go within 1 week, maybe a month. 1 week's probably aggressive, but I think my brother might have done it. You could start it at the beginning. You could start it now. It's the beginning of April, fresh new month. Start it now. By the end of April, you finish the entire show.
Pre House of Dragon. Perfect timing.
Correct. Yes. Um, versus the people who watched it in real time have been diehard fans for the
That's
most
true. It
part
was a much
who have spent a
longer,
decade watching the
way
show.
more spread out.
So if you spend a decade of your time getting invested in something and you're following every little plot thread that they're building up, and then it's the end of your decade of time spent with the show, and they pull twists and turns on you at the very end of your decade,
Don't
you're
spoil
gonna be
it.
pissed.
We've just learned
You're
he's
gonna be
not
pissed.
actually finished it. So sorry that we've been yapping about it.
You're pissed.
We've been
Yeah,
going back
I mean,
and forth about the state of the ending. We
yeah.
didn't spoil anything though. But
No spoilers.
Tom very
No spoilers.
vocally expressed his disdain for the way it ended. So
But
that would intrigue me more almost. For example, like the television show Lost is also, I think, like a historical show, but had a very controversial ending, and like that, I'm like, oh, how would I feel about it? You know, like that's kind of almost a intriguing factor for me in a way.
Yeah, it's the same. Like this is a recurring theme on Dork Discourse of
we don't agree on
structuring things. Disney Plus shows release one episode a week for the most part. Netflix shows give you the whole thing right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So I think with the I think Kenobi is one of the best examples. If they had released Kenobi all at once, or it was a movie, it would have been way better initially received than what it was, because you had stuff in the middle where you had to wait and guess and read between the lines, and it raises more questions and brings more uncertainty. And for a show with the caliber of Kenobi, the two arguably most important characters in Star Wars history outside of Luke Skywalker, it's their show. And if you have episodes that aren't living up to that caliber, then spread out over 6 weeks, people are going to be disappointed, and people are going to have more time to gripe and complain and be pissed and nitpick and find all these issues. Versus if you drop it all at once, 6 hours. Or one movie, 2.5 hours, 3 hours. You get the whole thing, beginning, middle to end, all at once. And the real-time viewer mindset is so much different. So if you watch Game of Thrones over 2 weeks, a month, you're getting the whole thing all out of the gate. Your brain is just full Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones, and there's not a lot of gaps. So the ending could potentially feel more, how do I say this? Not in left field, coming out of left field. So less out of left field, like more in line.
You
like
put
it
more
could be
work,
less of a shock
more time,
value.
more emotional investment in when something's spread over a longer period of time. So if you were to shrink that over the course of 2 weeks, it's like your emotional investment is dwarfed compared to... Nicholas is clearly supporting the cause. Preach, Brother Tom. Thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I'm doing this because Tom is speaking facts. Fire and flames, fire and flames, fire and flames. Thank you so much, Nicholas.
You were too kind. You were too kind.
You guys have been so generous this evening with the super chats. We do appreciate it. I'm glad. It seems to be when we rant about things that gets the crowd, gets the masses going. But we do appreciate it. Thank you so much, Nicholas.
It is. I appreciate when you guys share the feedback, because, like you said earlier, we are generally not on the same page at all. So it's nice to see people
Everyone's
that might
on your
agree
team
with what I'm saying. So
tonight.
that's nice.
I got smoked in the poll, and everyone's on your side.
A prophecy.
No, I've always agreed in that regard. The structure and the formula of when things are released. That's why I think this new phenomenon of the Bad Batch, they're dropping, if it's a 2-episode arc, they're releasing it as a 2-episode arc. The way it is meant to be ingested, the way it should be watched. You know, I agree fully with the Netflix model of dropping everything all at once so that you can watch in 48 hours. Definitely has different cons. For example, you know, we binge watched seemingly Tom's favorite show of all time now in less than 2 days, and now I'm sad that we can't keep watching it, but at least we didn't have to wait. There's none of that agonizing wait in the interim, which the crux of that, at least in the Star Wars fandom in particular, is if you give us a day, a week, many weeks, years, months, however, give us any fraction of time, any amount of time to theorize and come up with our own theories and conspiracies or whatever. We're gonna occupy that time doing it. Our brains are gonna, our imaginations are gonna run wild. We're gonna get ideas. So by the time the next episode or that actual film or project rolls around, it's like we've already run off on our own theories that we can't appreciate fully what actually came to be, what the actual story is. And then it becomes you're pitting it against your own ideas versus what actually happened, versus if you don't give us the freedom to do that, then we can appreciate what the story is meant to be, versus, you know, a reason I do think strongly, not to turn this into a sequel talk, but the reason The Last Jedi in particular gets quite a lot of flack is that was an agonizing wait. You leave it on a cliffhanger. The Force
Awakens did not do whatever The Last Jedi was any favors with the way The Force Awakens ended.
No,
because they ended right in the moment that you wanted to see for 40 years. They did like if you're Rian Johnson or whoever's directing the follow-on movie, you're like, bro, are you serious? I can't do anything now. I literally can't do anything. You teased for 2.5 hours what people have been waiting 40 years for. You're gonna leave it off on that note? You just tied my ankles around and threw me into the Marianas Trench with a blindfold and oxygen tank and said, good luck swimming back to the surface. But guess what? You're not going to be able to swim back because you're chained down, but you're going to be able to breathe, so you're going to survive, but you're going to have enough buoyancy to float in the middle ground. So you're just going to be sitting there tortured.
Is this what you think? Is this your Roman Empire? That was really detailed.
I have no idea how that
How did you think of all of that? I'm a little bit nervous.
I have no clue why that just popped in my head. But, like, you are leaving it an impossible task to pick up.
No, it's already against
from where
you.
That
and then
off.
You add in the crux of time. There was what? Then another 2-year period, a year and a half?
Yeah.
For people to be foaming at the mouth, ready, more rabid by the time it comes out. So it's like, no matter what you produce, you already have that inherently working against you that we've been seething for 2 years coming into it. So our expectations are up to here. We're like, this better pay off, make up for that time. The last
Jedi World War
Oh
II
my goodness. I love Sean's comment. Back to the sequels, great Scott. I know. Y'all know I'm especially a proponent for not trying to go back there, but they're always worth talking about. They're still relevant discourse, whether you like them or hate them. But that is a huge burden to put on a project, the time, the waiting game, which is why the longer it is between, it's already been how many years since we last went to theaters to see a new Star Wars project. You know, I'm grateful that they're starting to do this more and they're dabbling more in re-releasing, you know, theatrical releases. For example, they re-released Rogue One, preceding Andor. Like, they're doing it here with the prequels all of a sudden. You guys have been mentioning Phantom Menace is coming back soon in early May. Like, they're re-releasing a lot of things, which I think they're doing purposefully to fill the void and get us reacquainted with what it means to go back and see Star Wars on the big screen. But the longer the time period is for us to be boiling, waiting for whenever this new theatrical release may be, no matter what the project, no matter who's directing, it could be anyone or anything, the expectations are going to be sky freaking high, because it will have been almost, what, between 5 to 10 years? It'll be,
this December will been 5 years since The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
It'll be 9 years since The Force Awakens.
Yeah, so it's just, time is an enemy when it comes to film and television. That's our theory here.
I mean, time is not the only factor here.
But we're not using
JJ
that
leaving
to...
off at the biggest tease in cinematic history.
Okay, yes, we're not saying time absolves
and
the
then
decisions made in that time period.
And then you have the literal complete opposite of what you were setting up.
We don't have to do this. I didn't want to go down this route.
A double-edged sword, and both are incredibly sharp. And they've been sharpening it for 2 years. And then
what are with these analogies?
And then they hand it over to the John Cena who does a triple front flip off the top of the ring and hits the people's elbow, shoves the sword straight in your.
Oh, okay, all right. That got graphic. Anyway,
He's in the air for 2
I
years
never
doing
wanted
flips,
this
sharpening
to.
this sword, and then
I
bang,
never thought this would end
bang.
this way, but
Anyway,
we've gone on quite the
Yes, we have.
tangents this evening, folks.
We have.
We've covered a lot of topics, but I
We
knew tonight was going to be like a miscellaneous, crazy, different topics. But yes, all moral of the story. We're very much vibing with these double episode releases when they're applicable for this final season of The Bad Batch. I wish they'd been doing this the entire time. I think it's genius. I think it's amazing. What?
Zeta, that's the most.
Kylo showed up shirtless on his massive. Ooh, we're on display. Oh, God, Zeta! I might screenshot that. That's actually hysterical.
Zeta, he got all his milking out on the sea cow, so he was all.
I never wanted it to end this way.
He
Okay.
had plenty of milk already.
Okay.
Full. They didn't show you, but in the cave that Ray went, there's a whole like industrial refrigerator full of the sea cow.
Stop it. All right.
And then he sells it back to the government to help
As
with
I was
his
just
tax
trying
deduction.
to
So
get us out of this and wrap things up. But
Anyway.
yes.
3 body problem.
Yes, go stream stream 3 body problem.
Yes, we have to wait until the next season. However, they did not leave it off on major cliffhanger.
Yes,
they
questionable,
laid the
yes.
foundation. They laid the road. Here's the bounds of where we're going. They gave nice resolution to a lot of the characters, and we see where it goes in the
No,
future.
truly.
So we know the end game. We know kind of roughly where we're at relative to the end game. It was a nice resolution for the season, so the season feels complete, but they have left a lot to look forward to whenever the season comes out. But I'm not like going to be antsy like out of my mind until the next season comes out, because they left it in a way where I'm satisfied. But I also can't wait for the next season to come out.
Good.
What?
No, literally, truly, the entire time we were watching the show, as it was nearing the end, I was like, I don't care how this ends, but I know that if this doesn't end well, Tom will be furious, because the entire time I've never seen him so into a show, professing that it might be his favorite show ever. So I was literally like, fingers crossed, please, if they end this on a cliffhanger, he is going to rage. This is not going to end well. But yes, go stream 3 body problem if you have any interest in sci-fi. We could not recommend it enough. Very good. Again, I'd be curious to hear the opinion of a book reader such as Zach. So maybe, I'm not sure, I should have texted them before this. I don't know if we're doing Evil Ewok tonight. It might be later this week. I'll let you guys know. I'll keep you guys posted. But regardless, enjoy tonight's double episode of The Bad Batch. Yep. I'm almost caught up with my reactions. I just finished editing today. The fact that it's a double episode this week is going to set me back a little bit further, but I'm going to try to ramp it up. I'm going to kick it into high gear and really try. So hopefully by the end of this week, all of my reactions will be caught up. I'm going to get caught back up with the Avatar: The Last Airbender Netflix, and then I'm going to get back into The Legend of Korra, and then I have other freaking video ideas that I want to make. So now that the month of March is over, our lives were very busy. I had to put YouTube on the back burner for a little bit. Unfortunately, every week we just were backed up with things going on. We've never been busier, so unfortunately YouTube definitely took a toll, but I'm going to come back. I'm crawling my way back. I'm going to keep it more regular for this month, so stay tuned. Hopefully by the end of this week. Nicholas, holy shnikes! Sweet Jesus, my
Nicholas.
God. Thank you so much. You guys have been on fire tonight. What is going on? What is happening? You guys are too generous.
Seriously.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Nicholas, John, Danny.
Who else?
You guys
I can filter it. I can filter it so that
you guys are awesome. We can see.
You
guys are fantastic.
And thank them all again. John Blake, Nicholas Brown, Danny. Thank you all so much. Truly, you guys have been on fire tonight. Literally can't say thank you enough. That really means a lot to us.
Yeah.
And as Tom said, we appreciate the feedback. Glad that you guys are enjoying Dork Discourse. Yes, Jerry, stay tuned, you guys. I have many members-only streams coming up for this month to make up for past months. Instead of maybe doing a 5-hour one like I sometimes do, a marathon to compensate for months where we might have missed one, I might split them up this time around and we might do some watch parties perhaps. I don't know. I'll see what you guys prefer. I always like to take the temperature, but... anyways, thank you guys. Thank you again My goodness, Nicholas, what a way to end it. Wildcat literally just took a beating from Tom in debating. Oh my goodness.
I don't think you were
Nicholas.
really disagreeing with me.
No, but I got
Right?
absolutely shanked in the poll.
You phrased your poll. in
I set it up for you to win. All right,
Yeah.
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. All right, I get the pity poll.
Goodness.
Pity poll tonight. Huh?
Anyways, Nicholas, everybody, thank you guys so much for your generosity this evening. Truly, we can't express our gratitude enough. And we're glad that you guys are always joining us back here week to week. Not sorry. It was fun. I knew it was going to be a fun rogue night with a bunch of different topics. It was going to be Wild West tonight, not too much structure. So hopefully you guys enjoyed all of our tangents and debates and rants sprinkled in. We hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, night, morning, evening, 3 a.m., whatever time it may be where you are tuning in. Enjoy the Bad Batch this week. Can't wait to see you guys in my reactions. Again, I'm not sure when Evil Ewok is happening this week, but yeah, let the poll master do the polls. Yeah, from now on, I tried.
Do another one.
No. I literally just said my finale.
Do another one.
I literally just said my closing words. I can't.
Are you going to
No.
watch Three Body Problem? Yes or no?
Nah, it's
Yeah.
fine. Stream Three
Yeah.
Body Problem.
Do that.
Stream the Bad Batch. I'll see you guys in my reactions, and we'll catch you guys here next week. Same time as always, Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Like and subscribe. Shoot us a comment if you ever have any topic ideas. I know we've been discussing a lot of Bad Batch, but I think we're going to start venturing as House of the Dragon gets closer after we finally go freaking see Dune, which, hold us accountable. If we've not seen it by the next time we see you guys, we have just failed. And I'll go on another rant about why the city of Los Angeles is the worst place to try to get a movie ticket. So, fingers crossed, pray for us, guys. Please manifest that we can finally see this movie before it leaves IMAX. Until then, hope you guys are doing well. Thank you again to those of you guys who were so generously sending super chats. It means the world to us. You all mean the world to us. And we'll see you guys again very, very soon.
Another spectacular conversation with the Dork Discourse crew here. So, spectacular.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys again next time. Bye, friends!
See you all later.
I really thought you were going to hold that out for a second.